Good morning and welcome to the Mobile Device Manager Plus training program. My name is Nirmit. I'm a product specialist at ManageEngine and I will be your trainer for today. I hope I'm audible and that you're able to view the presentation clearly. Please confirm by commenting on chat. Now that I've got a few confirmations, I will move along with the presentation. This 2-week training program has been designed to help you better understand the features and benefits of Mobile Device Manager Plus. We are in week 1 of the training, and today we will be dealing with device enrollment and provisioning. If at any point during this training you have queries regarding any of the features that are being discussed, feel free to post them on chat. We have a panel of experts on standby ready to answer all of your queries. So without any further ado, let's take a quick look at the agenda for today. We will be starting off with the overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus, understanding the product architecture and its prerequisites, before moving on to enrolling mobile devices, where we will cover each of the different types of enrollment methods available along with its benefits. After this, you will see as to how you can push your corporate configurations such as your Wi-Fi, VPN, and email configurations onto your managed devices. Next up, we will explore the asset management features of MDM. And after this, we will discuss a few scenarios commonly faced by organizations across the world along with the solutions to it, before ending this training with a small Q&A segment. Now let's kick things off with the overview of Mobile Device Manager Plus. Mobile Device Manager Plus offers support for phones and tablets across iOS, Android, and Windows operating systems. It is available as a standalone product, available both on-premises and on cloud. It is also available as an add-on to the on-premises version of ManageEngine Desktop Central, which is a complete endpoint management solution. Here's the Mobile Device Manager Plus architecture. It has three major components: the server, the push notification services, and the devices that need to be managed. The server contacts the push notification services to wake up the devices. The devices then get in touch with the server for further instructions. Since the devices that are being managed are mobile, you need to ensure that your MDM server is reachable at all times. You can do that by NATing a public IP to the private IP of your MDM server. If in case you're worried about security and you do not wish to expose your MDM server to the internet, MDM provides you with an option wherein you can configure a forwarding server. This forwarding server will act as an intermediary between your MDM server and the internet. You needn't worry about this if you're using the cloud version of the product. As discussed earlier, there is a lot of communication that happens between the Mobile Device Manager Plus server, the push notification services, and the managed devices. Now, to ensure secure and fast communication between all of these three major components, here is a list of ports that need to be kept open at all times. For example, for secure communication between the device and the Mobile Device Manager Plus server, the inbound port 9383 needs to be open. It's important to note that some of these ports are applicable only for the on-premises version of the product. So how does MDM actually manage devices? In case of iOS and Windows devices, MDM leverages the native client present on these devices to manage them effectively. And in the case of Android devices, you need to download the ME-MDM app to ensure that your Android devices are managed properly. Now let's take a quick look at the MDM products UI. So log into your MDM server with your credentials and click on the Home tab. As you can see, here you get all the basic information such as the number of devices in your organization, the types of devices in your organization, the platforms to which each of these devices belong to, and you also get information on whether these devices are owned by your end user or whether they are corporate devices. Apart from this, you also get a summary of all the applications in your IT environment. Click on the Device Management tab. And here you will have features such as profile management, application management, remote troubleshooting of your corporate devices, content management, conditional exchange access, and logs. Switch over to the inventory tab, and here you will get details regarding all the devices and apps in your IT environment. Apart from this, you can also track the location of all your corporate devices while also scanning your devices periodically to get updated information. Move over to the enrollment tab, and here you'll find a list of all the enrollment options available across different platforms supported by MDM. Under the Reports tab, you will find a set of predefined reports provided to you by MDM, and you also have an option wherein you can customize your own report. Switch over to the Admin tab, and you can configure settings such as your NAT, proxy, mail server, DB, and inventory settings. Finally, under the Support tab, you will find links to all your resources such as knowledge base, FAQs, and how-tos. You will also find links to your community forums and blogs. Let's move on to the next segment of the training, which is enrolling mobile devices. Before you start managing the devices in your organization, you need to ensure that these devices are brought under the purview of Mobile Device Manager Plus. You can do that by adding the devices to the MDM server using one of the enrollment options available. In this segment, we will be adopting a problem solution approach which will help you decide on the best suited enrollment option for your organization. Consider the following example, where an organization Zilker has a mixed bag of devices in its IT environment. There are going to be those devices that are already in use and in the hands of the end users, and then there are going to be those devices that have been recently purchased and are yet to be handed over to your end users. Now let's focus on scenario 1 first, where your devices are already in use. To tackle such scenarios, MDM provides you with the enrollment with invites option and the self-enrollment option with which you can enroll these devices. Before you go ahead and see as to how you can enroll devices using these options, let's first understand the benefits of invites and self-enrollment. You can isolate the personal and corporate workspace on the end user's device, thus ensuring privacy to your end user's personal data while also guaranteeing security to the corporate data on the device. You can prevent unauthorized data access by ensuring that only your managed devices get to access your corporate resources while your unmanaged devices are completely restricted. You can also restrict the end users from sharing corporate data to third-party cloud services. Now that you've understood the benefits of invites and self-enrollment, let's take a closer look at how enrollment with invites operates. Here, as an admin, you need to send out invitations to your end users, and the end users will then need to accept the invitation by either scanning the QR code or accessing the enrollment URL, which are both present on the email invitation. They can then authenticate themselves using either their Active Directory credentials or a one-time passcode. Upon successful authentication, the device gets registered with MDM. Now let's see as to how you can send out enrollment invitations using the MDM server. So go back to your MDM server and click on the Enrollment tab. Now before you go ahead and start enrolling devices, it is essential that you configure a APNS certificate and upload it onto your MDM server. As discussed earlier, APNS is essential in order for you to manage your iOS devices. So click on the APNS certificate option on the left menu. And as you can see, I've already configured a APNS certificate on this server. So for your benefit, I'll show you how you can configure a APNS certificate on a new server. So click on the Enrollment tab and select the APNS certificate option. Now the first thing you need to do is to download a vendor signed CSR, which is signed by ManageEngine MDM. This CSR needs to be uploaded onto the Apple Push Notifications portal after you log into it using your corporate credentials. So now log into your Apple Push Notifications portal and click on the option Create a Certificate. Next, you need to accept all of the terms and conditions. Once you've done that, click on the Accept option over here. Now you need to upload the vendor signed CSR and click on Upload. As you can see, a APNS certificate is generated. This certificate needs to be downloaded and then uploaded back onto your MDM server. So go back to your MDM server, click on Next, and here is where you need to upload the APNS certificate. You also need to enter the corporate Apple ID which was used while creating APNS. It is important to note that the APNS certificate is valid only for 1 year, after which it expires. Once your APNS certificate expires, you will no longer be able to manage the iOS devices in your IT environment. Hence, it is recommended that you renew the APNS certificate at least a month before its expiry. And to get timely notifications regarding the APNS expiry, please provide the email ID of the person who is in charge of the renewal process. Once you've configured all of this information, click on Upload, and you will be able to view all of the details regarding the APNS certificate as can be seen over here. Once you've done this, you can now go ahead and start enrolling devices. To do that, click on the Devices option on the left menu, select the Enroll Device dropdown, and for this example, let's choose to enroll an iOS device. Now, if as an admin, you have the device in your hand, then you can choose the option By Myself, enter the email ID, choose the ownership type of the device, and specify as to whether it is a personal device of the end user or a corporate device. You can also choose to assign the device to certain departments. Once you've done this, click on Next. Here, you can scan a QR code or access the enrollment URL and then authenticate yourself using a one-time passcode. Once this is done, the device gets enrolled successfully with MDM. Now let's go back and explore the other options under enrollment with invites. If in case the admin, or rather the end user, has the devices in their hands, you need to choose the option through user invites. Also, if you have an Active Directory configured in your IT environment, and if the user is part of that Active Directory environment, then choose the option domain user. However, if you do not have an Active Directory setup, or if your user is a contract employee who is not part of your Active Directory environment, then choose the option local user. Now enter the username and email ID of your end user, which is what I'm doing right now. Select the ownership type of the device and assign it to any group that you want. Apart from this, you also have the option to configure the message that is sent out on the email invite to the end users. To do that, click on the option Configure Enrollment Mail Template. As you can see, this is all the information that will be displayed to the end user in the email invitation. You have the QR code and the enrollment URL along with the one-time passcode. And to your right, you have all the subject and message variables. Now these are the dynamic variables which you can use to configure this enrollment template. Once you've done all of this, you can click on Save and close this. Now select the option Send Enrollment Invite. Once you do this, as you can see, an invite is created under the name Dixon and it has been successfully sent to the end user. Now let us see what happens on the end user's device once they try to access the enrollment URL. As you can see, once the end users access the enrollment URL, they will be asked to authenticate themselves using the one-time passcode present on the email invitation. Upon successful authentication, they will be prompted to enter, or rather install, a MDM profile. Once the MDM profile is installed, the device gets enrolled successfully, and the same will be reflected onto your MDM server under the Enrollment tab by clicking on Devices. Once the device is successfully enrolled, you can see that the remarks changes from enrollment request sent to successfully enrolled. Now, if you have to send individual invites to every single end user in your organization, it can get a bit vexing and time consuming. Instead, as an admin, you can choose to send out these invites in bulk. To do that, click on the bulk enrollment option and upload a CSV file with all the following information of all the users whose devices you need to enroll. So enter the username, domain name, email address, the ownership type of the device, the groups to which you want the devices to be assigned to, and the platform type. Once you've filled in all the information, upload the CSV file and click on Import. This will ensure that all the users mentioned in the CSV file gets separate individual email invitations from MDM. Now, be it the bulk enrollment option that we just discussed or the single user invite option, the admin has to manually enter all of the user details by himself for the enrollment to occur. This can become a bit vexing for the IT admin who is already burdened with a lot of other critical tasks. To tackle such a scenario, MDM provides you with the self-enrollment option. With the help of self-enrollment, you can now empower your end users to enroll the devices by themselves. This is how self-enrollment works. As an admin, you need to ensure that the self-enrollment is, or I'm sorry, that the self-enrollment link is made available on your organization's self-enrollment portal, or rather the self-service portal. Once the users access the self-enrollment link from the self-service portal, they'll be asked to authenticate themselves using their Active Directory credentials. Upon successful authentication, the device gets registered with MDM. Now let's go back to the MDM server and see as to how you can set up self-enrollment. Click on the Enrollment tab and select the Self-enrollment option. It's important to note that self-enrollment is only applicable if you have an Active Directory configured in your IT environment. As you can see, you can choose to allow self-enrollment for all the AD groups in your organization. Or, if you want to restrict self-enrollment to specific AD groups, you can click on the option Selected AD Groups, browse through the AD groups in your IT environment, and choose the AD groups to which you want to restrict self-enrollment. For this example, I'll be choosing to allow self-enrollment for all the AD groups in my organization. Now, since the end users can enroll their devices by themselves, it is of paramount importance that the admin gets notified every time a device is enrolled. To do that, click on the option Notify when a device is enrolled through self-enrollment and provide the email ID of the admin who needs to be notified. Also, you can choose to auto-assign devices to groups based on the platform type of the device and the ownership type. Once you've configured all of this information, click on Save. Now to your right, you will find the self-enrollment URL. This is the URL that needs to be made public or rather accessible to your employees by pasting it on your organization's self-service portal. Now let's see what happens on the end user's device when they try to enroll their Android device through the self-enrollment option. As you can see, once the end users access the self-enrollment link, they will be redirected to the Google Play Store, wherein you need to download the MeMDM app. Next, they need to select the version of the mobile device manager plus product that they are using, whether it is a cloud or an on-premises version. After this, they will need to enter the server details manually. Next, they will have to authenticate themselves using their Active Directory credentials and also choose the ownership type of the device. Upon successful authentication, the device gets enrolled with the MDM server and can be viewed on your MDM server by clicking on the Enrollment tab and choosing the Devices option. Now let's move on to the next scenario where the where the organization Zilker has recently purchased a whole bunch of new devices. Now, under normal circumstances, the admin has to complete the initial setup steps manually by himself. Also, he needs to enroll each device individually. This is not an ideal situation for an IT admin. To tackle such a scenario, MDM provides you with a set of automated enrollment methods. In case of iOS devices, you can make use of the Apple Configurator option or the Apple DEP option. And in case of Android devices, you can make use of either the QR code enrollment option or the Samsung Knox enrollment option. Before we go ahead and start enrolling devices using any of these options, let's first understand the benefits of automated enrollment. In automated enrollment, you will also enjoy the benefits that were discussed under the manual enrollment process. Apart from this, you can silently install apps on your end user's devices without any intervention required from your end user. You can also restrict your corporate devices to specific apps using the kiosk mode feature provided by MDN. Apart from this, you can also enjoy the full support of all the profiles and configurations provided by ManageEngine's Mobile Device Manager Plus. Now that you've understood the benefits of automated enrollment, let's take a closer look at the Apple Configurator method. Apple Configurator is a free tool provided by Apple which allows you to configure device management settings and also reduce the initial setup steps in case of new devices. This is how it works. You need to install and set up Apple Configurator on your Mac, connect the devices via a USB hub to your Mac, and apply the device management settings onto it. Once the devices are activated, they will get registered with MDM. In order to set up the Apple Configurator, you need to first create a blueprint on your Apple Configurator. The blueprint has three major components. First, you need to add the MDM server's configurations to your blueprint. These are the configurations that are later applied onto your devices. Next, you need to create a Wi-Fi profile. This essentially designates the Wi-Fi to which the device needs to connect to in order to download the MDM server's configurations. After this, you need to configure the iOS Setup Assistant. This is where you can choose to either reduce or skip all of the initial setup steps. Now let me show you as to how you can create a blueprint using your Apple Configurator. So open Apple Configurator on your Mac, go to the top menu, click on the Blueprints option and select the Edit Blueprints option. Now scroll down and click on New. This will create a new blueprint. Now give a meaningful name to the blueprint and click on Enter. Once the blueprint is created, the next step for you is to create a Wi-Fi profile and associate it to this particular blueprint. To do that, click on File and select the New Profile option. Now choose Wi-Fi and click on Configure to set up the Wi-Fi profile. As you can see, I'm entering the name of the Wi-Fi. Now this is an open Wi-Fi, so I needn't worry about any of the security configurations over here. If in case you are configuring a secure Wi-Fi, please go ahead and set up the security settings as well. You also have the option wherein you can choose to auto join. What this does is that once the device is in proximity of this particular Wi-Fi, it gets automatically connected to this Wi-Fi. Now go ahead and save the Wi-Fi profile. Now apply the Wi-Fi profile to the blueprint. So right click on the blueprint, click on Adds and select Profile. Now select the Wi-Fi profile that you just created, click on Add, and the profile gets associated with this particular blueprint. The next step is to add your MDM server's configurations. To do that, click on the blueprint again and select the Prepare option on the top menu. Now I'll be choosing to manually configure all of this information. As you can see, you have an option to supervise devices. It is only when you check this option will you be able to enjoy the benefits of automated enrollment as discussed earlier. Click on Next. I've already configured a MDM server, but for your benefit, I'll show you as to how you can configure a new server. Click on the drop-down and select the New Server option. Select Next. Now you need to provide the server name as well as the server URL. To get the server URL, go back to your MDM server, click on Enrollment, and select the Apple Configurator option. Under Step 5, this is the URL that needs to be copied and pasted onto your Apple Configurator. Now once you've configured this information, you can move ahead with the settings. Now since I've already configured the MDM server, I'll continue with the same server. So once you click on Next, you need to enter the organization name. Select Next, and here is where you configure the iOS Setup Assistant, wherein for this example, I'll be choosing to restrict all of the initial setup steps. Now click on Prepare, and the blueprint is now ready. Select Done. The next step is to connect your devices to your Mac PC. I'll be doing just that. So once your devices are connected to your Mac PC, click on the device, select the Blueprints option, and choose the blueprint that needs to be applied to this device. Click on Apply, and the next step is to activate your devices. Once the blueprint is successfully applied to your device and your device is activated, it will get automatically connected to the Wi-Fi that you just configured. Once this is done, the device will automatically download the MDM server's configurations. Next, you will have a couple of options wherein you can either choose to apply the configurations or you can choose to skip the configurations. If you choose the option Skip Configurations, the device will not be managed. This is the reason why, as an admin, you need to complete all of the enrollment steps under the Apple Configurator method by yourself. Click on the Apply Configuration option, and all of the MDM service configurations will now be installed onto your device. Once this is done, the device will get enrolled with the MDM server. The next step is to assign the enrolled devices to your employees. To do that, go back to your MDM server. Now, you will not find these devices under the Enrollment tab by clicking on the Devices option because these devices are yet to be assigned to your end users. Instead, scroll down and click on the Apple Configurator option. Here, you will find a list of all the devices that have been enrolled using this particular option and are yet to be assigned to your end users. To assign this device to your end user, scroll to the right, click on the Assign User option, fill in the username and email ID of the person to whom you need to assign this particular device. You can choose to assign this device to a particular group and also give a name to this device. Once you've entered all of these details, click on Assign and the device automatically gets assigned to Dixon over here. If in case you have multiple devices that need to be assigned, select all of the devices and click on the Assign Users option over here. Now, you need to download a CSV file which already has most of the information. You just need to edit the CSV file and then upload it over here. Once you click on Assign, all of the devices will get assigned to the corresponding end users. And these devices will move from under the Apple Configurator option to the Devices option. Now let's see how you can enroll your Android devices using the automated enrollment options. In case of Android devices, as discussed earlier, you need to download a MeMDM app and then manually add your MDM server's details onto it. This process can now be automated using the QR code enrollment option. Let us see how QR code enrollment works. You need to download the MeMDM app using a DPC identifier. This is a unique identifier given by Google for ManageEngine's Mobile Device Manager Plus. Once this is done, you need to scan a QR code from the MDM server. This will automatically apply the MDM server's configurations onto the MeMDM app of the device. Once this is done, the device gets registered with MDM. Now let's see how you as an admin can enroll an Android device using this particular enrollment option. So, take up a factory reset or a new device and activate it. And upon activation, you will be asked to sign in with your Google credentials. Instead of signing with your Google credentials, provide the DPC identifier, which in this case is AFW #MEMDM. Once this is done, you need to click on Next and the device will automatically download the MEMDM app from the Google Play Store. Now open the app and select the option Scan QR. Go back to your MDM server, click on the Enrollment tab, and select the QR code enrollment option. Now this is the QR code that needs to be scanned, and once this is done, the MDM service configurations are applied automatically on the MDM app present on the device. Now the device gets enrolled successfully with your MDM server. Now, as in the case of Apple Configurator, you will find a list of all the devices that have been enrolled using the QR code enrollment option and are yet to be assigned to your end users by clicking on the QR code enrollment over here. Now you can assign these devices as explained to you earlier in case of the Apple Configurator option. Now, what if your organization is growing and has purchased 500 new devices? As an admin, it will be difficult for you to unbox each one of them and manually enroll them. In such cases, you can make use of the Apple DEP method in case of iOS devices, and in case of Android devices, you can opt for the Samsung Knox mobile enrollment option. Before you go ahead and enroll the devices using either of these options, here are a few prerequisites that need to be met. First, you need to create an account with Apple or Samsung, and then you also need to ensure that you purchase the devices either directly or from authorized resellers. So here's how Apple DEP works. As an admin, you need to first integrate the MDM server with your DEP portal and then add the devices to your DEP portal. Since the MDM server and your DEP portal are integrated, you're essentially adding your devices to your MDM server. Once all of these actions have been performed by the admin, the devices can be distributed to your end users, and upon activation, they get registered with MDM. In order to integrate your MDM server with your DEP portal, go back to your MDM server, click on the Enrollment tab, and select the Apple Enrollment DEP option. The first thing you need to do is to download the MDM public key certificate. Next, you need to log into your Apple DEP portal with your corporate credentials. Once you do that, click on the option Add MDM Server over here. Now you need to enter the MDM server name and also choose the option Automatically Assign New Devices. This ensures that every time a device is added to your DEP account, it gets automatically assigned to this particular server over here. Click on Next and upload the MDM public key certificate. Select Next and a server token is generated. This server token needs to be downloaded and uploaded onto your MDM server. So click on Done, go back to your MDM server and upload the DEP token over here. As in the case of the APNS certificate, this DEP token is valid only for 1 year, after which it expires. Now please provide the email ID of the person who needs to be notified in case of the DEP token expiry. Click on Upload, and as you can see, you have a few additional device management settings that you can configure. You can ensure that your users do not remove the device from under the management of the MDM server by clicking on this option over here. Apart from this, you can also force install MDM during device setup. Then, you can also skip all of the initial setup steps in case of your new devices. Once you've done with all of these configurations, click on Create. The next step is to add your devices to the DEP portal. But before you go ahead and do that, you first need to add the reseller details. So go back to your DEP portal, click on the organizational details, and now choose the Add Reseller Supplier option. Enter your reseller information and click on OK. What this does is that once moving forward, every time you purchase a device from this particular reseller, it will get automatically added to your DEP account, and then it will also get assigned to your MDM server that you just created. However, in case of devices that you have already purchased, you need to manually add them to your DEP account. To do that, you can either enter the serial number of the device or the order number. You can also upload the devices in bulk by uploading a CSV file. For this example, I'll be adding a device using a serial number. Next, I can also choose to assign this to a particular server that I've just created. Click on OK, and the assignment is now complete. Now the devices can be handed over to your end users, and upon activation, the device will connect to the Wi-Fi and will automatically configure the MDM server's details onto your phone. As you can see, the end user has no option to skip these configurations. Once all of the MDM server's configurations are installed successfully on the device, it gets enrolled with your MDM server. Now go back to your MDM server, and under the Enrollment tab, click on the Apple DEP method. Now all the devices that have been enrolled using your Apple DEP method will be listed over here. You can either choose to assign users to the devices as explained earlier, or you can choose to automate this process. To automate this process, click on the Settings tab and select Modify. As you can see, you have an additional provision wherein you can choose to authenticate and auto-assign users upon device activation. What this does is that the users can authenticate themselves using their Active Directory credentials, and upon successful authentication, the device gets automatically assigned to them. So click on Yes, select Modify, and now you can close this tab. Now let us see how the same can be achieved in case of Android devices using the Samsung Knox enrollment option. You need to first set up the Knox portal, then add the devices to the Knox portal, and then assign the MDM profile to all the devices. Once all of these actions have been performed by the admin, the devices can be distributed to the end users, and upon activation, they get registered with MDM. So let's first set up the Knox portal. So log into your Knox portal with your credentials. Now you need to create a MDM profile. So click on the MDM profile option on the top menu, select the Add button, and now choose the option Server URI not required for my MDM because I'll be manually configuring this detail. Now you need the MDM server's configuration information. To get that, go back to your MDM server, click on the Enrollment tab, and select the option Knox Mobile Enrollment. So you have the APK URL, which is the MDM app's information, and also you have the MDM profile, which contains all of the MDM service configurations. Now both of these need to be copied. So go back to your Knox portal, click on Next, and first paste the APK URL. Save this, and next paste the MDM profile that you copied from your MDM server. Click on Save, and the MDM profile, as you can see, is created. The next step is to add your reseller information. To do that, click on the resellers option on the top menu, enter your reseller details, and click on Add. What this does is that moving forward, every time you purchase a device from this particular reseller, it will get automatically added to your Knox portal and also assigned automatically to the MDM server that you just created. However, in case of devices that have already been purchased, you need to manually add them to your Knox portal. To do that, click on the Devices option and select the Submitted button. Now click on Submit New Devices. Here, you can upload a CSV file with all the necessary information. Click on Upload. Now you need to specify the reseller from whom you purchased this device and also the MDM profile to which you want these devices to be assigned to. Click on Submit, and Samsung Knox would now verify to see whether these devices have actually been purchased from the concerned reseller. Upon successful verification, these devices will be added to your Knox portal and also assigned to the particular MDM profile. Now, these devices can be handed over to your end users. Upon activation, the devices need to be connected to the Wi-Fi, and then your end users will have to accept all the terms and conditions. Once this is done, the device will contact the Knox portal to authenticate itself. Upon successful authentication, it will start downloading the MDM server's configurations. Once all of these configurations have been installed successfully on the device will get enrolled with your MDM server. Now, as in the case of Apple DEP, you can find the devices enrolled using the Knox Mobile Enrollment option by clicking on this option over here. Now you can assign users to these devices as explained earlier in case of Apple Configurator, QR code, and the Apple DEP enrollment option. Now let's take a quick recap of all the enrollment methods that we just saw. In case of devices that are already in use, you can either choose to enroll devices by yourself if you have it in your hand, or you can choose to send out invites to your end users either individually or in bulk. You can also opt for the self-enrollment option, wherein your end users are empowered to enroll the devices by themselves. If in case you have new devices in your IT organization that needs to be enrolled, you can enroll your iOS devices using either the Apple DEP or the Apple Configurator method. And in case of your Android devices, you can use the Knox mobile enrollment that you just saw or the QR code method. This brings us to the next segment of the training. As an admin, you've already enrolled all of the devices in your IT environment. The next step for you is to ensure that these devices are ready for corporate usage. To do that, you can push your corporate configurations such as your passcode, Wi-Fi, VPN, and email configurations onto your managed devices. Now let me take you back to the MDM server and show you how it's done. So go back to your MDM server and click on the option Device Management. Now select the Profiles option from the left menu. Click on the Create Profile drop-down, and for this example, let's choose to create an iOS profile. Give a meaningful name for the profile. So initially, I'll be creating a passcode profile. Click on Continue. As you can see on your left, these are all the profiles and configurations provided by ManageEngine's MDM. Now click on the passcode option, and here are all the details that you can configure. You can either choose to allow or restrict simple values. You can also choose to allow alphanumeric values, choose the minimum passcode length, and also choose the maximum passcode age. If in case you have any queries regarding any of these details, you can always scroll up and click on the help option over here. This will open up the help document that will give you a brief description of each and every one of these settings. Once you've configured all of the settings, click on Save and publish this profile. Now this profile can be distributed to multiple devices in your organization. However, it is recommended that you first test out this profile on a single device, and if you're satisfied with the functionality of the profile, you can go ahead and push it to multiple devices in your organization. And to distribute this profile to your devices, click on the Groups and Devices option, select the Devices tab. Now since this is an iOS profile, you can only distribute it to the iOS devices in your organization. Select the device to which you want to distribute this profile, click on the Actions dropdown, and select the Associate Profile option. Now choose the passcode profile that you just created and click on Select. As you can see, the passcode profile gets associated with this particular device. Let us see what happens on the end user's device once the passcode profile is applied. The end users will get a prompt asking them to set a passcode that meets the requirement that we had just configured. Now, if in case you decide that you need a more stringent passcode policy for your organization, you can go ahead and modify the passcode profile. To do that, go back to the MDM server, click on the Profiles option, select the passcode profile that you just created, and under the Action tab, select the Modify Profile option. Click on Continue, and let's say for this example, I'll be increasing the minimum passcode length from 3 to 8. Click on Save and publish this profile. Now, to upgrade this profile onto the device that it was already distributed to, click on the Groups and Devices option, select the Devices tab, choose the device to which it was associated to, and under the profile type, you will find a list of all the profiles that have been distributed to this particular device. You have something called as the executed version and the latest version as well. Under normal circumstances, both of these should match. If in case there is a mismatch between the executed version and the latest version, it means that there is an upgrade available for this passcode profile. So click on the passcode profile and choose the option Upgrade Profile. Click on Yes. Once you do this, the passcode profile will be upgraded and be reassociated with this particular device. If in case you are satisfied with the functionality of this particular profile on your end user's device, you can go ahead and distribute it to multiple devices in your organization. To do that, click on the Groups and Devices option. Now, select the Devices tab. Since this is an iOS profile, you can distribute it to all the iOS devices in your organization. So click on the platform type and choose iOS. As you can see, you get a list of all the iOS devices in your IT environment. Now select these devices, click on the Actions drop-down, select the Associate Profile option, click on the passcode profile that you want to distribute to all your devices, and click on Select. Now all of these devices will have the passcode profile associated with it. So passcode is not the only corporate configuration that an organization would need on its managed devices. So let me show you some of the other corporate configurations that can be pushed onto your managed devices using the MDM server. Click on Profiles. Now I've already configured a profile for you, so I'll be using that. Now the most basic requirement for any organization is the Wi-Fi to which the devices need to connect to. So click on the Wi-Fi option over here and configure your Wi-Fi details. Click on the Wi-Fi option and configure the Wi-Fi details. You can also choose the option Automatically Join Wi-Fi Network. This ensures that whenever the device is in proximity of this particular Wi-Fi, it gets automatically connected to it. Once you've configured all of this information, you can click on Save. The most preferred form of communication in any organization is through emails, and as an admin, you can create separate user account-based email profile and distribute it to your end users' devices. To do that, click on the email option over here, enter the email configurations. Now you might wonder that since email is an account-based policy, do you need to create separate profiles for each and every end user in your organization? You needn't worry about that because that is not needed. Instead, you can make use of something called as a dynamic variables. Now these are the dynamic variables that I've just entered over here. Once the profile is applied to your end user's devices, these dynamic variables will automatically fetch the username and email ID associated with those particular devices. Once you've configured all of this information, click on Save. As in the case of most mobile-first enterprises, in some scenarios, your end users might prefer to work from home or to work from remote locations. In such cases, as an admin, you need to ensure that they can access corporate resources through a secure VPN channel. Configuring VPN can become a complicated process for the end user. Instead, you can go ahead and configure that for them. So click on the VPN option, configure your VPN account details, and here you have an additional feature wherein you can choose to configure VPN on demand. Now enter the domains to which the VPN connectivity should be automatically established once the end users try to access it. Click on Save and publish the profile. Now this profile can be distributed to any number of iOS devices in your organization. Let's move on to the next segment, which is on asset management. Keeping track of all of your organization's asset data is no laughing matter. In fact, it is easier said than done. And I'm pretty sure as an IT admin, at some point or the other, you would have been queried regarding the warranty details of a particular asset in your organization. And you, in turn, would have poured over numerous invoices to arrive at that particular stat. Now, let us see how MDM simplifies this process for you. So go back to your MDM server and click on the Inventory tab. Now select the Devices option and you'll get a list of all the devices in your IT environment. Click on a particular device and you get all the information such as your device information, your network information, and the SIM information. Apart from this, you also get information regarding all the apps installed on your device. You get the information regarding all the certificates that have been distributed to this device and also all the restrictions that have been applied on it. You also have a geo-tracking feature which will help you track the current location of all your devices. This feature will be explained in detail in the next week's training session. Now, if in case you're wondering as to how MDM has all of this information, MDM scans the device once it gets enrolled. So what happens once any of this data is changed? Say one of the restrictions has been reconfigured. You can get the updated information by scanning the devices manually. To do that, click on the Scan Devices option, choose a device that you want to scan, and click on the Scan option over here. Once the scan is complete, all of the updated information will be displayed under the Inventory tab. Now, it is not necessary that you have to manually scan all of the devices every single time. You can choose to automate this process by clicking on the Schedule Device Scan option. Now, you can either choose to schedule your device scan on a weekly, daily, or a monthly basis. For this example, I'll be choosing to scan my devices weekly, and I'll want the scan to start at 9 p.m., which is after working hours. And I want the scan to be performed on Sunday. So once I save the changes, MDM server would scan all the devices in my IT organization on a weekly basis at 9 p.m. on Sundays. Now, what if you want to add some additional information to the devices in your IT environment? You can do that by clicking the Devices option under the Inventory tab and selecting the Edit option next to the device. As you can see, these are all the additional information that you can add, such as your purchase order information and your warranty details. Once you've added all of this information, you can click on Save. Now, if you want this information to be displayed on the same tabular column, as you can see, you can go and click on the Column Viewer option. You can scroll down and choose all of the options that you want to display on this particular column over here. Click on Save. Now, what if you need certain information based on a few preset conditions? To do that, click on the Reports tab, and you have access to a set of predefined reports provided by MDM. You have reports based on app type, hardware, enrollment, and security. For this example, let's choose to access the reports regarding the inactive devices. This would essentially show a list of devices that haven't contacted the MDM server over a particular period of time. So click on the inactive devices option, and as you can see, these are all the devices that haven't contacted the MDM server over a period of 1 month. If you want to choose or rather change the time period, click on the drop down over here, choose the custom option. Now you can choose to modify the time period. Once this is done, select the generate option. Now these are all the devices that haven't contacted the MDM server over a period of 2 months. You can export this data by clicking on this option over here and send it to the concerned person who has requested for it. However, you needn't do this manually every single time someone queries you for this particular report. Instead, you can choose to automate this process by scheduling the reports. So click on the schedule reports option, select the add scheduled report button, enter the name of this particular report. Now under the available reports, select the inactive devices report. You can also choose to specify the delivery format and the recipients as well. Now you can send the report as an attachment or as a zip file, or you can also publish these reports on the MDM server and send the URL to the concerned person. Now specify the email ID of the person who has requested for this information and enter the subject. Next, you can specify the frequency at which this report needs to be generated. To do that, click on the Configure Scheduler option, scroll up, and here you can set the frequency at which you want the report to be generated. For this example, I'll want this report to be generated on a weekly basis at 9 a.m. every Monday. So I'll click on the Schedule option over here and click on Save. Now, if in case you want reports apart from the predefined reports provided by MDM, you can choose to create your own custom reports. To do that, click on the Custom Reports option and select the New Query Report button. If in case you have someone in your organization who can write a query for you, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can contact the MDM support team and we will create a new query report for you. Now let me show you a report that I've already created. Now this report will have all of the warranty information of the devices in my IT department. As you can see, this is the query that needs to be entered. Now once you've done that, you can click on Run and Save. This brings us to the next segment of the webinar, where we will be discussing a few scenarios commonly faced by organizations across the globe and the solutions for it as well. So here's scenario 1. My organization uses Windows devices. How can I enroll these devices in bulk without user interaction? To do that, go back to your MDM server and click on the Enrollment tab. Now scroll down and under the Windows option, select the Windows 10 Enrollment. Here, you need to click on this link to download a Windows ICD on your Windows machine. Next, download a PPKG automation tool and extract the create PPKG bat file from it. You should then connect your devices to your Windows PC and apply this create PPKG bat file on it. Once this is done, the devices will be successfully enrolled with your MDM server and can be viewed under the Enrollment tab by clicking on the Devices option. Let's move on to the scenario 2, where an employee is moved from one department to another. The old profiles and restrictions should be removed and new ones pertaining to the department must be added. How can this be done over the air? To do this, go back to your MDM server and click on Device Management. Select Groups and Devices and choose the Groups tab. Now, if I want to remove a particular user from the marketing department and have him transferred to the sales department, I'll be clicking on the marketing department options first. Then I'll have to select the user and click on the Move to Group option. Now I can choose to move this group to either the finance department or the sales department. So I'll click on sales department. Now all the profiles associated with the marketing department will be removed from this particular device, and all the new profiles associated with the sales department will be applied onto this device. Let's move on to the next scenario. I want any downloads from my internal website to be viewed only using a managed app. Is it possible? Yes, this is certainly possible, and I'll show you how it's done. Go back to your MDM server, and under Device Management, click on Profiles. Now create a new profile and give a meaningful name for this profile. Click on Continue and select the option Manage Web Domains. Now provide the URLs over here. Click on Save and publish this profile. Now once this profile is associated to your end user's device, every time the end user tries to access this particular URL and downloads a particular document, these documents can now be viewed only with the help of the any MDM app present on the end user's devices. Now let's move on to the next scenario. I don't want users to be able to remove devices from our management. How can I do that? We have already discussed this in case of iOS devices under the Apple DEP enrollment option. Now I'll show you how the same can be achieved in case of Android and Windows devices. So go back to your MDM server, click on the Enrollment tab, scroll down, and under the Android option, select MDM app. As you can see, you can choose to restrict the users from removing the MDM app. So click on No and select Save Changes. And in case of Windows devices, click on the Settings option under Windows, and you can choose to either allow or restrict users from deleting the MDM workspace account. Again, select No and click on Save Changes. Now let's discuss a few questions that were asked during the course of this particular training. I've purchased a few devices, neither directly from Apple nor from its resellers. Can I enroll it with DEP? Yes, you can, if in case you're using devices that are running iOS 11 and above. If you remember, when you were configuring your MDM server into your Apple configurator, you had an option wherein you can choose to add this particular device to the device enrollment program. Once you've checked this option, you will enjoy all the benefits of the DEP enrollment method. So here's question 2. What are the other methods of authentication that Mobile Device Manager Plus supports? So go back to your MDM server, click on Enrollment and choose the option Enrollment Settings. As you can see over here, MDM supports one-time passcode authentication, Active Directory authentication, and you can also choose a combination of both of the above. Here's question 3. Is it possible to apply a profile created for one platform to devices running on other platforms? No, this is not possible. If you create an iOS profile, you can only apply it to your iOS devices. The same applies for your Android and your Windows profiles as well. Here's question 4. I want to apply different policies as separate profiles. Is it possible to apply multiple profiles to your devices? Yes, you can apply different policies as separate profiles, and you can choose to apply any number of profiles to a particular device. Here's the final question for the day. What will happen if I apply two profiles with contradictory restrictions? In case of Android devices, the latest profile to be distributed to that particular device will be applied to it, and in case of iOS and Windows devices, it will choose the best of the security configurations of the two profiles. This brings us to the end of this training. You will be getting a survey shortly. Kindly rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is the best. If in case you found this training useful, please spread a word on the various social media channels. The next training schedule is on December 14th at 11:30 EDT, and that is going to be on app deployment and device security. Thank you.